Throughout this video, I'm going to try and give you guys the best game sense tips by analyzing my own gameplay. Starting off, there's a team that are actually padding, and instead of landing on us, they see high ground and they go to take high ground. Now, one thing that I was aware of using game sense and intuition, I was able to say, oh, why should I beam these guys out of the air? Let me start cranking. I originally started off trying to pull him out of the air, but realized what he was doing, and that would actually destroy our game. So I instantly started cranking up towards him, and I realized that I was like, oh shit, this metal is our metal. We had all piece control. That was our builds that we placed, and for some dumb reason we left high ground. That was the real problem. A lot of people would have been like, hey, they took high ground, but the real problem was the fact that we left high ground, and that's something we shouldn't have done. So it's all about really thinking in depth about the mistake that led to the mistake. That's always one thing that happens in Fortnite. It's not the genuine mistake of you jumping in someone's box. It's the fact that you didn't jump in the box with a teammate. There's always a mistake of a mistake, and there's always two reasons why you die. Remember that. There's always two reasons. There's never one. There's always two. The main reason is what you're doing in game. The second reason is why you were doing that in game. Think about it. Moving on to the next clip. Basically, there was this tree in between me and my teammate, and I used this tree to my advantage despite it being there and putting me at a disadvantage. Look how I do this. I start off cranking upwards towards the opponents. I actually don't place a lot of builds. I just use cones, simple cones. That's all you need sometimes. And I swerve to the left of a tree, and I'm actually above a tree right now, and my teammates split from me, and the other opponents were fighting. There's actually two of them. They both started keying towards my teammate, but by me being above a tree and swerved out a bit to the left, I was able to hit some rib shots on my opponent with my MK7, and this actually caused the opponent to back away, and eventually I actually went over and helped my teammate. Basically what I did was made it a 2v1, and that's something you always need to do in Fortnite, is trying to make it a 2v1. When you play duos, you have you and your teammate, which is two people, and your opponent is going to have his teammate, which is two people. So essentially, if you minus 2 from 2, you're getting 0. They cancel out, right? So you want to always make sure that you don't take a 50-50 chance like that. What you want to do is have two people, i.e. you and your teammate, go at one of their opponents. Pick one person between you and target the same person. That is super effective, especially in the spray meta. Don't worry about the other opponent. He's going to cycle in. He's not going to piece control you. He's just going to be lost because you're so hard focusing his teammates, and you have to be in their perspective. What happens when you get sprayed in Fortnite? More than likely you do one of three things. You actually play super calm, or you do the most common thing, which is you start screaming, and then 3, you start raging. So screaming and raging is the combination. So if you start spraying opponents and they start screaming, what's the teammate going to do? Their teammate is going to be so lost because there's a guy in their party and he's screaming. So he's so, like, what can you do? You know, you panic. That's what's happening. You cause panic and take advantage of it. This next tip is when you're in a scenario where it's a 1v2. There's you and there's two opponents that have just knocked your teammate. There's a lot of things you have to take into account here. First of all, are they good mechanically? Second of all, can they hit heavy shots with their weapons? Do they know how to use their weapons effectively? Number 3, do they have an ego boost? They just knocked your teammate. Are they going to feel confident about that? Do they feel relieved about that? Do they think they can take you? They're higher in confidence than you are. So you need to be aware of that. And the energy that that's going to emit off them is going to cause them to play differently than the way you're playing. So if you put that into account, you're going to end up in a scenario like I'm in right now. There's two of them. They have more health combined than I do as an individual. So the maths is not with me, but my ego is with me, my mind is with me, and I'm actually able to play this smartly. You're going to notice at a point in this clip, I actually started pickaxing my opponents a wall, and I did panic a bit, I'm not going to lie. But by staying calm and collected, I actually allowed him to hit me. Not on purpose, but when he hit me, I realized this isn't a bad thing. So I actually pull out my shotgun after drinking a guzzle, and I don't pull out my edits. I wait and let him take piece control, and I jump, and that way I'm above his crosshair level. So if he hits me, he's going to hit me in the feet, I'll still survive. And I actually completely dodged the shot, landed on high ground, and was able to hit him in the head directly. So by staying calm and collected in 1v2s, you can actually win them pretty easily. And it's very helpful if your teammate's still alive or knocked, or even if he's spectating you, to give you comms. Just get him to give you comms. Like, train comms. That's something you should practice, is communication, because it's going to pay off. So the clip in the background is kind of an example of IGL game sense. I'm super split from my teammate. He's in Storm. I just sent a quad crasher flying over a hill, and I all of a sudden heard players. So what I decided to do was scope the area. I was like, okay, something's not right. So I started moving away and I'm rotating down behind a hill. And I currently just sit there, I wait for my teammate, and that is something that not a lot of people do. You need to have patience to be able to pull stuff like that off. It's all about relaxed, calm playstyles this season. The reason being is because people tend to be super aggressive. And if you fight fire with fire, and what I mean by this is if you fight an aggressive playstyle with an aggressive playstyle, it's not going to be a nice result. So that's the equivalent of fighting fire with fire. You're doing the same thing to counteract the same thing. It doesn't work. What my theory is if you fight aggressiveness with calmness, it's like the complete opposite. And people don't expect this. When you get sprayed, your opponent probably expects you to spray back. I don't do it. I don't spray with my SMG. Ask my teammate. He's sick and tired of telling me, hey bro, spray him with your SMG. Grief him. Don't do it. I just stay chill. I'm relaxed. That's the way I like to play, and it's been working out for me since I started playing like that. Maybe you should try it yourselves. I don't know, man. It's a good little technique. But back to what I just said. Wait for your teammate and have patience. It's going to pay off. This next clip is the best example of actually annoying your opponent. So again, on that calm kind of playstyle I was talking about, me and my Apollo are currently under our opponents. Our opponents are on high ground, and this is actually the same kind of game from the clip I showed at the start where the guys took high ground on our metal base. They're still above us right now, and we don't have the mats to kind of mess with their shit. So what we actually decided to do was tarp super far ahead, and I started coming out the side at the back. You might see that in the clip. I actually run to the back, crank up a little bit, and I was like, this ain't gonna work. But what I was able to do was pull them from the front of the tarp to the back, and then I start tarping ahead at the front. This way I have just a few inches ahead of them so I can make a better play, and I actually was able to make a better play by doing this. It didn't really work out, but it put them off for a few seconds, and that bought me some time. It bought my teammates some time, and it actually enabled us to get one knock. And my teammate actually did fall off the mountain at some point in this clip, but it was okay. Why? Because he didn't panic when he fell off the cliff. You'll see him now. He fell off the cliff, and I actually came so close to falling off the cliff because we were looking up at the opponents and didn't see that we were about to jump off a cliff. But because he stayed calm and collected, and he was like, hey, watch the cliff. He didn't scream it. He said it calmly, and I looked down, and I was like, okay, nice. And then I was able to look back up, lock onto my target that was trying to land in the water below the cliff, and just annihilate him. It's pretty simple when you play calm, and you might notice I'm very calm in this video. Let me know if you like that vibe, bro. I think I might come with this like podcast style in all my videos from now on. I don't know. I feel like it's just chill. It's relaxing. You might be watching this after a stressful day, and the last thing you need is me on like a hype ass energy talking my shit. So calm videos from now on. What we thinking? So from this clip in the background, you're going to notice I actually started using movement to an advantage, and it was an unusual type of movement. I got my teammate to hit me in the back with a quad crasher. That might sound a bit strange, but you're going to see it push me 4 or 5 tiles to the right. I went at a diagonal angle, but it put me in front and to the right. This is an advantage because the opponents didn't see me do this. I don't know how, but they just didn't, pick up on it, and I actually got a bit of high ground. I tried to cone, it didn't work out, but I did get a bit of high ground and was able to knock a guy that was on the mountain, which was also on high ground, griefing us. And when we knock him, the fight is super simple. You'll see me crack up another Spider-Man skin because he wasn't aware of the angle I was coming from. So again, little 5-tile nudge with a quad crasher didn't win us the fight, but it put us at the upper hand and made the fight drastically easier. And it's small things like that I was just trolling, and you realize, oh, that was kind of useful, and you jot it down in your little mental notebook, and you can keep it and use it again. So I highly recommend to mess around sometimes, because you might find a nice little strategy that is unique to you and you might use it all the time. I've done this hundreds of times with edits where I do stupid edits to bait my opponents, and it just works out. Can't really give it as a tip because you need to just be in the zone and you need to identify the target, and when you're doing stuff like that, stupid stuff. But in that scenario, the players weren't that good. I was like, okay, let me try this out. It worked. Now I've added that to my reservoir of different things I can do in different scenarios, and that's what you need to be doing. To finish this video out, I'm going to be talking about the gameplay in the background. This is actually from a 24 kill win I think we got. It's a pretty insane win, but it was all because of the way we played. We actually swapped our playstyle in this game to a IGL and a double fragger. We did not have a support in endgame. We just had 2 people fragging and me sitting back. It was kind of like a play and hold kind of role. So I held the high ground, I held their position, and they just keyed people while I sat back and beamed. And you're going to notice me throughout these clips and the background gameplay, me just doing a lot of damage per second. But before I start breaking this down, I want to use this as a moment to actually ask you guys, if you want to take part in a community montage we're making here on the channel, you'll find a link down below in the description, and you can click it, go and submit your clips. Me and my boy Watts, you'll also find his link by clicking that as well, are making a montage. He's going to edit it. I'm collecting clips from the community, so send your best clips in. Has to be chapter 3 clips. You're allowed to send 3 total, and definitely go for it. If you got a few nice clips, I'm going to be reacting to it, so if you want to get a nice little reaction from me, go for it 100%. On top of that, in the description you'll also find stream times. If you want to watch my streams, I would appreciate that. But continuing on with what we have, it's actually pretty neat. You're going to notice the way I play this is that I always stay high ground, and if I had the vocals for this video, which I don't, I actually didn't record sound, which was an L. It's the only reason why it's not getting uploaded as a single video, because I kind of went on a burner. But the consistency of my aim in these clips was insane, simply because of all of the peaks I took. I didn't focus on one specific team. I let my teammates do that. They focused on one specific team, which is okay. If they need my help, I just have to tilt my crosshair a bit. It's not a big deal because of the angle I'm in. Look at the angle I'm in. I'm on the highest point on the map. I'm on the natural highest point, and on top of that, I built like 6 layers up, and I'm prepared to beam anybody, and that's what I do. Like I was saying, I look around the map and I just do 3 or 4 shots to this guy, or 2 or 3 shots to that guy, and maybe shoot this guy 3 or 4 times. And that's literally how I play. I will just annihilate everybody in a weird sense. I just grief as many people as you can, and that's the mindset you need to play with. You're like, oh, I don't have to kill them, but if I ruin their game, you're chilling. Why? Because it's not all about eliminating the opponents. It's about changing their mindset. In like fighting, MMA, boxing, the number one reason why people lose their fights when they shouldn't lose their fights is because their opponent gets in the head with stuff they're saying. Obviously, you can't be verbal in Fortnite. It's pretty impossible to do that unless you're playing creative or wagers, but you have to get in their head by your playstyle. You have to annoy them. That's the whole main focus, is annoy them. And look what I'm doing in the background. It's very annoying to people. Just sitting on high ground. There's nothing they can do because my teammates are down below keying everybody. So if you come near me, they're going to key you. I have like 4 pads. It's just one of those games where things go your way, and you want to get games like that all the time. I know it's hard to do, but when you get games like that, and it's not luck, by the way, it's actually skill, to find lobbies like this, because you'll identify a good lobby. And this is actually going on a rant, but I want to explain it to you. Finding a good lobby is something that you're responsible for. Obviously, you can't control matchmaking, but you can use your game sense. From the first like 5 or 6 kills you get in a game, you can read it. You can be like, okay, there's 20 people left. This is a key game. There's more than likely some really good players in here playing super aggressive, and you have to be aware of that. Fourth zone comes and there's like 60 people left. It's like, okay, these players are either very smart and playing placement, or it's like they're terrible, so you should key out. And it's all about just looking at numbers, looking at data, looking at the people dying in the feed, looking at their levels in the feed. Little stuff like that can tell you a lot about a lobby. Like if you see 6 or 7 people die and they're all level 20, you know they haven't played a lot. And it's actually computing that data. It's using all of the analytics that you have available to you to get an outcome. That might be very complicated for some people, especially the younger people watching on the channel, but I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to fry your brains or nothing, because I be on some upper echelon shit with the way I be looking at shit. That's enough shit. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video on screen is going to help you become an even better player than this video. And obviously tap that like button for me. Definitely subscribe. Have a good one.